Hey everyone, welcome back to the Rollout. I'm Linsay Rousseau.
And I'm Genevieve Marie. Hello and welcome.
We are so excited today. We have Amy Ratcliffe on the show, and we are just going to do like a deep dive into all the things that she does geeky with her writing, her books, her work at Nerdist. So Amy, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you both for having me. I'm glad the stars finally aligned.
I know, right? I mean, COVID crazy, and you just had to move and all these things. So why don't you tell people who might not be aware of who you are, which if you were in the geek world, I feel like you should be aware of who you are, but just let people know a little bit about you.
Oh gosh, of course. So I'm managing editor at Nerdist, a pop culture website. And in addition to that, I've been freelancing in the entertainment world since 2011-ish for sites like IGN and StarWars.com, Collider, really whoever would pay me to write. And I've published the seventh book is coming out soon. So I'm going to count it 7 books, 6 of which are about Star Wars and officially licensed Star Wars books, which is amazing. My favorite fandom.
Yay. Wow. Yeah. Because I mean, so if people aren't aware, some of the books you've written about are Star Wars Women of the Galaxy, The Jedi Mind, Elee Me. One of my favorites, A Kid's Guide to Fandom, which I think is absolutely adorable. Yeah. So let's just dive in. Like, how did you get into writing? And then now, you've got your shows on Nerdist as well. Like, how did you get into this crazy world of fandom?
It was a long path. I grew up in a really small town, like rural 1,000 people farm town, which I'm saying because there wasn't a lot of like sci-fi and fantasy or comic books or anything like that in my childhood. So I didn't really get into fantasy books, like kind of like what I think of nerdy things being, till I was like junior high school. I didn't see Star Wars for the first time till it was re-released as special editions in the theaters in the late 90s. So I was a late bloomer in a lot of ways, but especially with fandom. And I don't think I knew the word fandom until around 2006, 2007, probably. I had moved to LA from my small town. I found a geek community. Star Wars, The Clone Wars started, and that's what made me really like fall hardcore in love with Star Wars. And I started, because of that, like I was trying to, so I really enjoyed writing, like always, like in high school, college, I had great teachers who encouraged me, but I didn't know like that could be a career, like that could be a thing you did and get paid for it. I just had no idea. And that wasn't like the mindset, like, the town I'm from, like you're probably going to marry a farmer and that's what you're going to do. So
not that there's anything wrong with that. To all the people out there who are married to farmers, like we need agriculture production in this country.
No, I fully supported it. It was not for me, but I fully support anyone's lifestyle choices, as long as they're not harming anyone else. Anyway, so blogs were like more of a thing. Like I had a live journal, of course, like you did back then. It was private. But then like a lot of my friends in LA they had like food or travel blogs on Blogspot. So I tried to do that and it didn't really quite feel right. But once I got into Clone Wars, and around that time I was getting into comics as well, finally. And that's kind of like, it hit me like, oh, I should have a blog like about these things and experiencing like this geek world from a female perspective, which it's changed. It's for the positive in some ways since then, but back then it was very like, you're still a girl, like still, which is ridiculous. It was like 2009, but it's like, oh, you're a girl and you like nerd stuff. Surely that can't be true. And slowly, like I built up that blog, and I really I had a full-time job at the time in pet food, which was a great job and it paid my bills, but I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do forever. So I built up my blog and like on the side in my free time, and eventually got paying, started to get paying work from places like IGN, I think was my first paid job, and slowly built up enough paying work and enough regular like clients that I could quit the proverbial day job,
right,
and pursue that full time. That was a long-winded answer, but that was kind of my journey.
No, I love that because, everyone finds a different way into this, and like you said, we all have different fandoms. A lot of times we have multiple fandoms. What was it about, because you said Star Wars is your favorite fandom. What was it about Star Wars that just really captured you?
It's weird because I didn't like when I saw it at first, when I saw the trilogy of special editions, like I was like, these are movies and they're fun. And I saw the prequels and I'm like, same. But it was with Clone Wars that really kind of made me see the world in a different light and appreciate it more. And I think part of it was because I was like becoming more familiar with outwardly being like, hey, I'm a nerd, and connecting with like-minded people, especially women who were also nerds. And that made and I just moved from like LA, like it was like a timing thing, right? I felt like I was coming of age in my mid-20s, and late 20s, who knows, what is time? And the animated series like really got me. I really loved Ahsoka. I loved seeing though she was young and pretty annoying at first, a female character like at the center of the story. Not Padme and Leia were amazing, but Ahsoka's right there swinging her lightsaber, fighting battles, and I really like seeing more of Anakin and Obi-Wan. And I like the prequel era a lot, and Clone Wars gave me more of that. So getting hooked on Clone Wars made me go back and like watched all the films again, started reading just random Legends books that I would pick up, and really got more immersed in the world and the themes of hope, and just that anyone can make a difference, regardless if they're from a tiny moisture farm on Tatooine, they can still save the galaxy. And that's like kind of it feels like I don't like the word cheesy, but it kind of feels like a cheesy thing to say, but like I think those messages are really important and can carry over into our lives, even if we're not fighting. I mean, sometimes we are kind of fighting the evil empire, but
yeah, someday.
I mean, Clone Wars actually, I think, is the next like step for Star Wars fans. You like the movies, of course, but then when Clone Wars first came out, it really wasn't that popular. It took time to get traction. Like even though they were telling some really, really great stories, it was going to be canceled, and some of the best episodes that they had made was in that kind of like make it or break it type moment. And I really think that if you are a Star Wars fan, Clone Wars definitely does touch on the things outside of the normal stories that you're getting told. You get to learn a little bit more about the people and the worlds, and kind of expand on your knowledge of Star Wars. So I think that's a very good place to kind of branch out and drink the Kool-Aid, so to speak.
Well, and obviously Disney recognizes that, because now so many of the things from Clone Wars are now in the Mandalorian. It's like, okay, we and then even, with the 7, 8, and 9, they brought in some of the spaceships that were in Clone Wars, and people were like losing their shit. They're like, what? So that's, so one of the things you mentioned was, when you got into this, that whole like, oh, you're a girl and you're a geek. And one of the things Genevieve and I talk a lot about on the show is, finding safe spaces within the geek community for women, for LGBTQ+, for BIPOC, how was that for you, trying to find where you fit in? And also, like, how have you seen it change since you originally, got into this world?
Yeah, a big part of like finding other people like my people was Twitter. I joined in 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. And because I'm shy, like not as shy as I used to be, but definitely back then I wasn't going to go up to like somebody who I thought looked cool in a comic book shop and be like, you want to be friends? Or have any conversation with them at all. So, but Twitter, when you're online, it's a little easier to connect. So I found a lot of people, I think just like initially followed a lot of people who were in the world I want to work in, like we're in the entertainment world, but then also found like a lot of women who like Star Wars. And then I found just this amazing group of women in Los Angeles, just by fortunately, I wasn't specifically trying to find, but like, I'm like, oh, I found my friend Sarah, and look, she's also friends with these people and they're nerds. And I think we didn't meet up in person until like the San Diego Comic-Con, probably not even in LA. And like, so you find like, once I met them, I'm like, yes, like this is, I feel, because it is important to have safe spaces. Like even now, like I have a group of like, if I have a really strong opinion about a pop culture thing, I'm not putting that on the internet. I will text my friends. And I think since then, like, so, that was 10 or so years ago, over 10 years ago. And I still get some of those vibes, especially, I think now I'm a little less like cognizant of it because I haven't been out in the world as much, because I usually feel like I run into that at conventions or at like, really, there are just some gaming shops and comic shops I've been into. I'm like, oh, I don't think you want ladies here. It's just, you just get a vibe, right?
Same.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I think that things have improved, and I certainly don't get quizzed as much, because I think some
Oh my gosh,
love that. I'm like, I don't
like
I don't remember things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Name 3 of their songs.
Right. And it's always the most obscure shit too. Yeah.
It infuriates me. It just, and it's so like, that's what you want to waste your time doing on this earth? Like, okay, whatever.
Well, luckily you're in LA. California, I feel California geek communities are very different. We are, especially since we have San Diego Comic-Con, we're pretty hardcore. And we do a lot of things. I think that's kind of the difference, is we do a lot of public events, and like all year round we have convention season. There is like at least 14 conventions that you can just pop up and down the state and go to,
Yeah, it's constant. It's going to be like a positive adjustment, I think. So I moved during the pandemic to the East Coast, to an area that's not as like, it just doesn't have as many exciting like nerd things going on. And when the world is kind of more free flowing and normal again, I'm like, well, even like this weekend, New York Comic-Con is going on, and it's like people are there in person. We're still doing some things virtually. Like I hosted a virtual panel for them. But I'm like, how much am I going to miss like that access, like once it starts becoming available again?
Yeah, that's true. So the bulk of your books, they're Star Wars related. Did that just kind of flow naturally in from doing the blogging? How did you get the idea to start writing these? And they're adorable. Like, they're just so cute. The ideas are so like magnetizing. How did you get the idea to actually go in and write novels?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know for a long time, from once I, started blogging and getting more work around the internet, I'm like, I really want to write a Star Wars book. That is my dream.
Yeah.
And I had a really good experience. Like, one, I'm a white lady, so I have to acknowledge that privilege. It's not just hard work, like that's part of it. But I had worked hard on my blog. I had made positive connections with Lucasfilm Publishing by just virtue of covering their various books and things. And I like hosted panels for them before. And then on the flip side, I had really good connections in PR from working with them to cover the Clone Wars or things in my entertainment job. So I just got to know a lot of really awesome people at Lucasfilm just from working with them in different environments. And so when they had Star Wars Women of the Galaxy was my first book. Mm-hmm. So that when Chronicle Books, my publisher, was looking for an author, Lucasfilm gave them, I have the director of publishing there, Mike Siglane, has always been very kind about like, do you want work? And I'm like, yes, literally always. And we'll pass my name along. So somebody at Lucasfilm, I think it was Mike, suggested my name for that book. And the interesting thing with Star Wars, and probably with other licensed stuff like Marvel or DC or whatever, is they kind of generally have an idea of like what they want to publish. And then they work with the publisher, whichever of their many publishers who have licenses that is best for that. And then the publisher and Lucasfilm usually like find the author. So all of my projects, I'm thinking through, have mostly been brought to me like, hey, we have an idea about this. What do you think? And it's like, always, yes, I'm excited. And it's like, how can we, it's a lot of collaboration and deciding, especially with Women of the Galaxy, like, how do we present this information? How do we make it not just a lovely collection of Wikipedia entries, Wikipedia entries. Yeah. And so that's where it's fun. Like they'll come to me like maybe with like, here's the idea, but then I get to like work with them, or like in the case of Elee and Me, like, okay, I know the general story, but let me write out specifics and give notes for the illustrator, which was really fun. Because I'm like, I gave you like the barest of like Elee doing a cute thing in a puddle and you drew that.
I love that.
Yeah, I've been really lucky that they like and happy that I've been pleased enough with my work that they keep coming back.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, we have so much of the Star Wars universe now with Disney Plus. There's so much more in the works. We've got Obi-Wan coming, we've got Ahsoka coming, we've got, all these other shows that are coming out. And, one of the things, because you did do the book on, women in the Star Wars universe, obviously there was a lot of blowback when we got Rey from the, Twitter sphere and all the angry little boys sitting in their mother's basements. Not to stereotype, I'm sure they weren't all there, but where are you hoping to see the Star Wars universe go, especially when it comes to female representation and other minority representation? And obviously there's the big talk about queer representation, which we almost got, but didn't quite get.
Yeah.
A little bit. We tried, but then I guess the Chinese market, not so great for that.
Oh, it's frustrating. It reminds me though, I think back to 2009, like how I found people on Twitter, and be friends with. Now I'm like, no, Twitter can be a cesspool and I try not to spend time on it. Things change. So I really hope, especially since they do have the opportunity with Disney Plus to they can do limited series that don't have to have multiple seasons, series that don't have to be blockbuster films, that they will use that to experiment more. I mean, I want to see that in their films too, but though I feel like, I'm glad we have Rey and Jin and every white brunette lady as a lead that we possibly can. It's good. They've made steps for it, but it's not enough. Yes. So I really hope they do more to it, not just in front of the camera, especially behind the scenes.
Oh yeah.
They've made a lot of progress. Well, I'm not going to say a lot of progress.
Yeah, they gave us Patty Jenkins for
right.
one. Yeah,
and they have Deborah Chow in The Mandalorian and Familia, so they do have women and men of color working behind the scenes, and they have spacing on her name, who did Russian Doll, Leslie Headland. So they have some LGBTQ representation, but there's behind the scenes and in front of the camera, they need to do more.
Yeah.
Especially with people of color, I think putting them, in more prominent lead positions, giving them meaningful storylines. Like if you look back at Finn, amazing that we had Finn, that we had John Boyega as a lead, but what did you do?
And then by the third movie, it's like
yeah.
Well, and then obviously with what happened with Rose as well. Yeah.
Oh God.
Again, thanks Twitter. Thanks Twitter.
The Twitter, honestly, I mean, there's been many studies done on it and we won't get into it, but Twitter it's a place. You
have to learn to navigate it appropriately. Yeah.
Even there, I curate my experience.
Yes, I do too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We were diving into the idea of the overseas market and a lot of things informing what we get as far as on-screen representation, especially LGBTQ. POC representation obviously plays a huge part in that as well. The censorships and stuff. But we also got what I find interesting. Sorry, this is my cat, and if he jumps off, all my wires and things are just gonna pop right on my computer. So I have to kind of tame him. He needs to go that way, not that way. But we just got Star Wars Visions, which is a collaboration with overseas studios, and most prominently, Japanese studios, which I really liked Star Wars Visions. I know the community is divided. Critics really tend to like it. The community is very divided. I don't think they quite thought, oh my okay. Bye. Yeah. He's a cat, he'll do what he wants. Exactly. The community is very divided. Critics liked it. I just don't think the community knew exactly what they were going to get, especially with some of these studios, Trigger especially. I was interested to hear what you thought about them.
Yeah, so it's, I guess, October now. Those came out several weeks ago, and I have watched 2 of them. Not because I'm not excited, but because I'm like, I want to savor these. So I'm just going to watch one at a time. I'm not going to binge them. And then a lot of other content has happened since then.
Yeah.
And I haven't got back to it. But I enjoyed, especially the second one, which I'm spacing on the name of, but it was about the twins who were fighting with light and dark side. I just like seeing something stylistically, like I love Star Wars animated series, right? But Clone Wars, Rebels, Star Wars Resistance looks a little different, but there's kind of a sameness there. Just as far as like, but here I just feel like there was more experimentation. So just from a visual standpoint, I like seeing Star Wars look like different and out of somebody else's imagination, and not like,
well, yeah, because the same with the Bad Batch, like the Bad Batch was just
fancier Clone Wars. It's like, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
The lighting in that, like sometimes I just pause and be like, that's how are they
the background
doing this in animation? Like, but Visions is fun because I'm like, it's different, and I think it's cool to let other people come play in the sandbox.
Yeah.
And bring different cultural perspectives too.
Yeah. Right. And the rule breaking I thought was fun. Yes. Like finally we get something where we can kind of giving it over to, as you said, like a different studio, a different cultural perspective, we can get a breath of fresh air and not so much worry about getting every little thing right as with the like in-universe rules and stuff like that. And I think that's what I really, really liked, because it's, as you said, playing in the sandbox, you get to have fun.
Yeah, like canon, I respect it. I understand why it needs to exist and have some kind of like consistent boundaries. But also, it's really fun to not have to like.
Several months ago, we did an episode on why we feel like we need an Old Republic series. And one of the things that we talked about was that we're kind of tired of the Skywalker era. We really want, I mean, this is a massive universe. Why does everything have to center around the Skywalker era? Like, we want to see these stories that take place nowhere near Tatooine or, any of that. And so we kind of got that with Visions, which was nice, but it's like, I think it's okay that we now start exploring stories that take us beyond, the same, time frame that we've had for most of the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I haven't, the new High Republic books.
Oh,
yeah.
To
read pile, but I'm so curious about those. And I'm so curious to see if they'll take what they're doing with the publishing and bring that to screen anyway, because it looks like a very elegant, like different. And to your point, like, I mean, Yoda's in it, in the books at least, but I mean, 100 years before what we know.
Or even thousands. I mean, I personally just want to see Bastula's story. Like, that would make my life complete. That's just me. I'm obsessed with Knights of the Old Republic. My cat's named after a character. It's fine.
Oh, I love it.
My one cat is Jahani. So yeah.
I mean, I have an Ahsoka cat. So
okay, there we go. Yeah. So with all the work that you've done, and obviously this is what you can talk about, what are some projects that you would just love to work on in the future, or are working on, that you're excited about, that you can talk about or want to do?
I'm always excited about Star Wars, and who knows when I'll get to say anything, but I have a couple more of those coming up, projects related to Star Wars, which is exciting. I think I might have my first Marvel related thing coming up soon, which is really fun.
Ooh.
Just because I love Star Wars, but I don't like, I like other things.
Diverse?
Diverse, yeah. Like I like to make sure I have lots of, and I'm trying to work on some original fiction that will be an ongoing project, because that's hard. And that's
creating your own worlds. And
so that's kind of what I have coming up, and we'll see. Projects are always like, we're going to talk about this for approximately 6 to 8 months, and then we're going to bring it up again, and it's going to be due tomorrow. So I'm waiting on a lot of those right now.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So I mean, I know we've mentioned what you've done, but where can people find you? Where can they follow you? Where can they learn about all the amazing things that you're doing?
Yeah, people can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Amy_Geek. I am on Twitter less and less these days, but I still post there occasionally. Or if I'm really excited about something, like I was this week, and then you won't, like, I'm like, oh, Wheel of Time trailer, I'm really excited about that show. So 5,000 tweets. And then as far as my writing, I don't write a ton on Nerdist these days, because I mostly am behind the scenes, but I have a newsletter at Substack that's just amyradcliffe.substack.com. I do that every month, and it's just like here's what I'm up to, here's what I have coming up, here's what I'm watching and can't stop watching. So it's kind of a fun way for me to like kind of have a blog without having a blog.
Right. Yeah. And with the books that you have written, I assume we can find those on Amazon. I mean, where can people find what you already have out?
Yeah. So if you go to amyradcliffe.com, I have a section that lists all my books. Everything's available, pretty much available from your local bookshop, anywhere you'd like to buy books, except Elee Me, which is exclusively available at Target.
Oh, okay.
Because Disney made that decision. I don't know why, but that's where you can find it.
Oh, that's so great. Well, wow, Amy, we are so excited to have finally been able to get you on the show. This was amazing. And hopefully we can get you back when you have new projects out that you're excited to talk about. Marvel sounds great. But yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you both for having me. Thank you for being patient and wrangling the schedule.
Oh, no. I mean, we've all got crazy lives. So there's one thing we understand. It's flexibility and scheduling.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate that you take the time to tune in every Friday. If you like this video, please, click that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, or do nothing. We're just really happy that you're here, to be honest, watching us. And we do upload every Friday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, and we would love to create more content for you. So just please follow us on all of our other social medias. We are at The Rollout Geek pretty much everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, we're
Facebook,
around.
All the things.
Yes. And thank you so much again, Amy. We really appreciate you being flexible with us and our schedule and your schedule. I know. But I'm so happy that we
time zones and all that.
So happy we finally got you on the show. You are absolutely fascinating. Thank you. Oh, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday.
Yeah, and we'll see you all next week.
Yes. Goodbye.
Bye.